Hey everybody, this is Greg Petix, founder, curator, docent, and gift shop employee of the Petixonian Institute of Comic Book Studies. After last episode, we got a lot of negative reaction from me doing the episode completely in the nude. So it's still very warm here in Portland and I have no air conditioning, so I put on some boxer shorts. So I just wanted to lessen the furor that caused. So, right here we have Marvel Premiere number 50, featuring Alice Cooper, Alice's first comic book appearance. This is hard to believe this comic exists and that Marvel Comics did it. So bizarre. It's almost like a PG-13 underground. Just the way it's written, how it's just totally like weird, satirically bizarre. But of course, you know, it's got the comics code, so they couldn't get too crazy. But it's actually a very good comic. I haven't read it in a while. I read it last night to reacquaint myself with it because I knew I'd be making a video today. And it is really good. This is a damn good comic, and I'm glad I have it in my collection. We start off with a cover by penciled by Tom Sutton and inked by Terry Austin. And they're going to do the art in the interior. This is just weird that this happened. So I'm going to skip to the little editorial page because there's no credits in this comic except on this editorial page. And basically the story is Jim Salicrup and Roger Stern, two Marvel Comics editors. They went to meet Alice Cooper in Detroit to hash this out. So they came up with a loose plot based on his concept album, maybe not a concept album, From the Inside. I'm not that familiar with Alice Cooper's discography. And then Ed Hannigan made a script from that plot. And Tom Wojciechowski on letters, Maurice Severin on colors. You know, some heavy-hitting backup. It's weird that it even says cover design by Salicrup, Hannigan, and Severin. Usually they don't tell you that information. But, yeah, just a crazy idea. I think because they had the success with the Kiss comic. They had a huge success with the Kiss magazine-sized comic. So they figured that, lightning would strike twice. I don't think it did, though. There was never another appearance of Alice Cooper in Marvel Comics. Though, was it Marvel? Years later in the 90s or aughts, Marvel or DC did a Neil Gaiman produced Alice Cooper comic. Very different than this. More serious. So it's narrated from Alice Cooper's point of view. And it's From the Inside. Based on the Warner Brothers album by Alice Cooper and Bernie Taupin. So he collaborated with Elton John's collaborator on that album. So he's trying to escape from his mental institution. And Nurse Rosetta catches him in the act. And he's just making excuses. He's like, I'm just going out for Mugu Gai Pan. He's basically, he's always cracking wise, this Alice Cooper character. So she has the orderlies drag him down to see the doctor who runs the mental institution. On the way there, this guy, Jackknife Johnny, who's a veteran with PTSD, he still thinks there's a war going on. In his head, he's still a soldier. Everything's a battle. So he's like, what do you do with my friend Alice? And Nurse Rosetta talks him down. She says, oh, he was injured, and these are the medics who are going to take him to be patched up, just like you were injured in war. So he buys it and salutes and doesn't help any further. So now we meet the doctor. He's the Dr. Fingeroth. I guess he's the villain of the piece, even though this is just, I don't know if there's heroes or villains in this. Really, I really like this Sutton Austin team. Tom Sutton's a great comic artist. Did, hundreds of comics for Marvel, DC, Charlton. Usually horror. It seemed like he usually skewed that way. Rarely did superhero comics. Always kind of quirky, weird comics. But his art was really great and imaginative. But sometimes, I don't know, I like how Austin tightens him up a little. Terry Austin was a very tight inker, very, illustrative. I think he just used a rapidograph. So everything has a very sharp, crisp look to it. And I think it's a good combo. So they throw him in the quiet room. I guess that's when you're bad. They throw you in this room. And then Alice looks to the reader, and he's going to tell you his story. Because he says, I'm not crazy. So now we have a flashback to Alice Cooper, international rock star. He says, I look a little crazy. It was just my stage act. But the pressures of work, traveling, recording, playing golf with celebrities, drinking too much, it starts to get to him. So he checks himself into a clinic. And while he's waiting in the waiting room, there just happens to be this other paranoid schizophrenic with a radical tire fetish named Alex Cooper. I love the way he's just giggling to himself. So these cops come in and they assume that he's Alex Cooper. It's a mix-up, because, he's got a snake, his beloved pet Veronica, and he looks way crazier than the other guy. So they take him to the institution, they scrub him down, they throw his snake out into the street, and they give him electroshock therapy. The doctor does. This also has a very Kurtzman Elder mad thing going on. I kind of think it's a lot of Terry Austin stuff. Terry Austin was known for whenever he drew a weird, goofy story, he would like to draw in all this little, chicken fat in the background, funny graffiti. He loves to draw Popeye into everything he draws. He always tries to sneak Popeye in the background. He loves Popeye. And it just has the dialogue by Ed Hannigan. It's a lot of punny wordplay, but some of it's pretty good. It's kind of clever. I was surprised because usually when mainstream comic writers try to write funny, it's pathetic. It's really bad. But there's some actually really good word balloons in here. Some zingers. So now they chop off all his hair. I'm a surgeon, not a sturgeon, so let's trim these locks. Okay, that's a pretty bad one. So he meets all the other patients. And just a really weird, perverse thing going on. There's this guy, Jerome, who kind of dresses like a monk, who's got a foot fetish. He's totally in love with Nurse Rosetta. He's always trying to grab her feet. And here we see, what's-his-face, Jackknife Johnny. And you could tell this is some Terry Austin stuff, I'm pretty sure. The Broderick Crawford Comedy Hour on the TV. All this goofy graffiti. There's he drew in this little imp down here. I don't know if that's from Pogo. So the doctor has this a total crush on Tiffany. He's pretty nuts, the doctor. He does not seem mentally sound. He provides personal therapy, it says, to Tiffany. I don't know why she's in there, but she's kind of hot, but also kind of, I don't know, she thinks she's a movie star or something. She's deluded. So she's just dragging Alex around. Sorry, Nurse Rosetta is just dragging him around. And Jerome is just going for her feet. Nurse Rosetta is like a really sexy, hot Nurse Ratched from One Flew Over a Cuckoo's Nest. It's almost like, as a kid, I sensed that there was this kinkiness to her. Almost she's like a dominatrix. She's so tough and beautiful and kind of sadistic. Yeah, I was a messed up kid. Well, I'm still messed up, but... So she throws him in the showers to clean his mind. And I think that's alley-oop Terry Austin drew in the background, which I don't really get it. Oh, I see what it is. Sorry. Sploop is the sound effect. So he wrote, you call alley-oop. Pretty goofy. But that's what I love about this comic. It's a Marvel comic, and they just went nuts. It just seems like some editor-in-chief, like Jim Shooter, would have been like, no, this is too weird. But he didn't. He okayed it. So, this is when he first meets Jackknife Johnny, because of course we're still in the flashback. And, yeah, he's nuts. He's completely, he has no sense of reality. Here's some Terry Austin stuff. Popeye, Bluto, Wimpy. We see, it looks like a Laurel and Hardy guy, Stan Laurel. The Incredible Hulk is holding Kermit in his fist. And Kermit really tinily is saying it's not easy being green. So this is just like some of the touches Terry Austin just throws in just to make it even more zany. Then he meets Millie and Billy, who just seem like the most, I don't know, all-American, sweet little couple. But they're pretty nuts. He says, I drew this picture for Millie. And Alice asks, who is it? And then Millie shrieks, it's my poor departed ex-husband, and she slashes it with a scissor. It looks like it's Fearless Fosdick. I don't know why. And then they kiss and make up, and they're just really nuts. So Alice backs up into this artist. One of the nut jobs there is a painter. Oh, by the way, here's some Pogo characters in the background. Man, Terry Austin, I wish he'd penciled more. He almost his whole career he inked, but he was really good. So the painter is painting a weird painting with a snake on it, so he remembers Veronica, and he says, I gotta get out of here, at least for Veronica's sake. So he's kind of like remembering who he is, coming back to himself. So he paints his face, the Alice Cooper paint that he was known for, and he says, I don't belong in this crazy house, I'm not crazy. So the orderlies come in. So he's in his pajamas, kind of his robe, and he's getting ready to fight. And Terry Austin put in pose and wardrobe, see 1974, Shang-Chi, sorry. So he does some cool kung fu moves, escapes, and he grabs Nurse Rosetta and holds her hostage. He's got her kind of tied up with this sash. And Nurse Rosetta totally hulks out. I mean, she's a force of nature, this woman. And she's basically like twisting him around. He can barely hold on to her. And she's saying Nurse Rosetta's getting angry. So he convinces Jackknife Johnny to grab Tiffany and take her hostage. So with both of them, they're going to get out of there. And he's totally playing on Johnny's dementia. He's pretending like he's a sergeant. He's like, we got to warn the regiment. Come on, Johnny. Oh, by the way, I haven't even mentioned, this came out in 1979. So it is like a year, I believe, after the Kiss comic came out. So the doctor's all like, be careful. I don't want Tiffany to be harmed, because he totally is in love with her. Some weird dialogue. I thought we were free and clear, but then I thought Iggy Pop was a breakfast cereal. It's like weird Dada humor. So, Jerome, the guy with the foot fetish, he loves Nurse Rosetta. So he sees Alice. He's like, he's hurting her. He might step on her feet. And so he says, let go of Rosetta, you heel. And the doctor's just saying, don't worry about her. Save Tiffany. He doesn't even care about Nurse Rosetta. And so between Nurse Rosetta and Jerome pounding on him, he blacks out. And now he wakes up, and he's totally restrained in a bed. I woke up in a much more restrained mood. I knew I had to get loose, but I was strapped for a solution. I would try binding negotiation, but Nurse Rosetta was arbitrary enough as it was. That's not the best, but that's so much cleverer than most Marvel comics at this time. It was definitely better than the writing in Crazy Magazine. Marvel's answer to Mad. So Nurse Rosetta comes in. He pretends he's asleep. She gives him a sedative, and then we see a soft side to Nurse Rosetta. She says, poor Alice. And she takes his straps off so he could sleep easier. Of course, Alice totally takes advantage of this situation. Has a little reference to his own discography. He says, "Thank heaven for my $1 billion baby face." I like this, more of the breaking the fourth wall. I thought things like this only happened in movies. I guess they happen in comic books too. Well, it's supposed to be escapist literature, so I might as well escape. I felt like Houdini, the Count of Monte Cristo, and Spider-Man all rolled into one. No wonder they thought I was schizophrenic. Just look at that Terry Austin, man. That guy, he's pretty anal retentive. He draws every line and every brick. Even though it's dark, he could have totally fudged it. God bless him for doing it, though. So he finds Veronica, a snake. She's just in this little box sitting outside the whole time. And there's a nice little action sequence in the comic. He uses Veronica to jump over the wall. She whips around, grabs this tree, yanks Alice over. Here's another, I kind of like this. With stealthy stealth and careful care, I prowled the grounds. So he tries to hitch a ride, but, nobody's going to pick him up with a snake and looking like a nut. So he walks all the way to this little typical American town, Millville. And he hears a parade. And when he rounds the corner, he hears a politician giving a speech. "If I am elected, I promise a chicken in every pot and 4 radial tires in every garage." Hee. And Alice is like, "Oh no." Because if you were paying attention, it's that Alex Cooper guy. He's now running for office and everyone loves him. People in the crowd are saying, "Oh man, this guy's so righteous. Right on. As I look down the vast steel belt of this great state, I see that the tread has worn thin. The bias is giving out." So he's basically like freaking out and like telling everyone, grabbing him by the shoulder, like, you can't elect this guy. He's a nut. And the cops show up and grab him. Good thing we found him. We can't have any loonies mucking up the political system. A little satiric barb there. And they say Doc Fingeroth will know what to do with him. So they take him right back to the mental institution. But this time, at least they throw Veronica in with them. They just don't know what to do with Veronica, so they let him have her. And then he talks to the reader. Kind of a weird, unsettling ending. So you think I'm crazy? Well, maybe I am. Or maybe it's you who's crazy. Well, then what are you doing in here with me? Haha, think about it. We're all crazy, and personally, I don't care. And then we zoom into his psychotic eye. The end. I really like this comic. I think this is, right up there with Steve Gerber's Howard the Duck. Probably one of the best Marvel comics of the 70s. I think that's pretty a good assessment of this. Other than Gerber's Howard the Duck, this is just a really special, fun, beautifully drawn comic. So I guess that's it. Marvel Premiere number 50. I don't think these are expensive. Nobody cares about it. I think I've gotten them twice. I gave one away because my friend loves Alice Cooper. It was her birthday. And within a year, I found another one for $2, $3. It was pretty cheap. So I hope you enjoyed it. Excuse me. And I'll see you next time at the Petixonian Institute of Comic Book Studies.